Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Thoughts from the Movies, live from the Union Fitness Studios. Oh, the app fucked me on that one.
What app?
The app fucked me on that
The
one.
Union app?
It asked, no, not the app. No, the Union app is great, actually.
Of course it is,
You can
'cause this is
sign
their
up
studio.
for classes.
Boom.
All right, I'm going to start this fresh here.
Go for it. Yeah.
One more time.
Okay.
No, leave us in the welcome screen there. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Union I'm so out of whack sitting on this side.
You got a word and a half in. That was a
Dude.
good start.
Thoughts from the Movies is live from the Union Fitness Studios,
boy.
located on the North Shore of Pittsburgh. Union Fitness is more than a traditional gym. It's a place where you can transform yourself inside and out, Justin. Go ahead, do your flex thing.
How do you transform yourself inside is the question that I want to know.
It's a great question. With a variety of classes, okay, based around fitness, yoga, strength, and performance training. At Union Fitness, they believe it is their duty to hold themselves and their clients to a higher standard. They practice what they preach and uphold the values that make Union Fitness the community that it is. Go to unionfitness.com
Boom.
today.
Go
and
there.
Sign up for a consultation. Through Union, there is strength. It is not just a class-based gym that you can just come work out to.
Or do podcasts in the back room.
Or do podcasts in the back room.
Yes.
I benched today.
Bench pressed?
Yeah, for the first time in months.
How did that go?
Terrible.
Oh, boy.
My shoulders hurt, and I feel like when I was prepping the show today with Nick, I was like up here. Like
Oh,
the
boy.
mouse was floating off
Too
the
swole.
ground. Yeah, it was not delightful. But Nick is running on the ones and twos today. Nick, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Nick is learning to produce the show so that I can go on vacation.
Well said. I don't know why with the coconut
Vacation.
water. I don't get it.
Vacation. I can't wait. But today's topic, Justin,
Yes, Josh.
is movie posters.
Yeah, movie posters. Really excited about this one. It's something a little different, but certainly something that we've talked about before. For those of you who don't know, Josh and I went to school for TV and film production, and a lot of our classes involved graphic design, 2D design.
Some may say
know.
too many of our classes.
You know what? At the time, I thought that, but over the years, I've come to appreciate them. A lot of the fundamentals of 2D images in color and shapes and all these very cool things. So we're going to talk about a lot of movie posters today and why they work and some that don't and why they don't work. So here's our rundown. We're going to talk about what makes a good poster and the antithesis of that, what makes a bad poster. There's a couple things that are kind of universal no-nos. So actually go back to a screen, Nick. So we're going to get into that first, and then we're going to talk about some common trends that we see in a lot of posters today and over the years. There's two guys that we have to mention when we talk about movie posters. The first is Saul Bass, who is the legend, who is the person who sort of is the father of posters in a way, a graphic designer who had a very long, distinguished career. And then Josh is going to talk about a newer guy,
The legend.
whom he dubs the legend, Drew Struzan, who's more recent
Yes.
addition to the design
Let me
family.
just say
But
that you've watched Drew Struzan, or you've seen Drew Struzan's work and been impacted by it.
I am looking forward to you educating me, because I don't know that name at all.
Literally, you talked about one of these movies, like not 2 weeks ago, about how important that movie was to you as a kid.
Well, I love that then, because
I'm gonna stab you.
it's so hostile already. But yeah, so Saul is the father of this stuff, and Drew's a more recent pupil of his. And then we're just going full on into movie posters, some terrible ones.
Hey, Nick, our gain is probably peaking. It's the very top black one. You want to just kind of move us back a little bit? No. Hang on. I got it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So anyway, yeah, we're going to do some of the ugly ones, some of the ones that didn't work out so well, and what issues they had, why they didn't work, and then we'll do some that we're dubbing the legends, which are some of the more beautiful, iconic imagery in terms of one sheets, for film, and then we're going to go through some of our personal favorites
Yes.
at the end there. So,
Ones that personally touched us.
yes.
One of them you did not put on your thing that I know personally touched you that Drew Struzman did.
Did you put it in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll be looking forward to a surprise at the end.
Going to stab you.
Again, it's just so angry.
I just don't like being this close to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm aggressive. I can't.
Nick, you're killing us here.
There's
We're too
normally a
close
table
together.
between us.
Yeah.
Alright.
All right, yeah. Let's dive into it here. Let's go to our first category. We're talking about what makes a poster good, and specifically,
Yes.
what makes a poster suck in certain ways. You know, when it comes to movie posters, these are generally the first images of
Nick, can
a
you
film
get out of studio mode?
that
real quick? Thanks, bud.
generally the first images that you see of a film, any new film that's coming out, one sheet, another name for a poster, is usually released.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was very confused in a lot of my jobs in Hollywood when people kept talking about one sheets, and I'm like, what is that? Is that different than a poster? But it's just another name for it as part of the marketing material. But yeah,
Because
so
of course in movies we couldn't just call it what it is.
I guess not, you know. But yeah, same thing. One sheet, poster, one sheet.
Right.
So these are the first images that people see of a movie, right? This is their intro to a film generally. It comes out before a trailer. You'll have a teaser poster long before you have a trailer or a full-blown actual poster.
Which is interesting that there is a teaser poster and then a poster.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these times, and particularly with some of the ones that you had asked me to put on the show, I was like, well, that's not the poster I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I looked it up. I was like, oh, that was the teaser poster. That was the poster that was, like, hanging outside the theater to let people know what was playing there.
Yeah, it's almost like a sports jersey. Like, you have certain varieties of it. Like, you have the main ones, and then you have some alternates that are a little bit, you know, more maybe for an art house theater or just like a more unique design. So posters, there's never really just one for any movie, right?
Right,
There's a wide
right.
variety of them.
Right.
And it's just like a trailer, right? You have a teaser trailer, you know, that's maybe like a 30-second spot way in advance, and then you have
Which
the full
normally
blown.
sucks.
Yeah, I mean, they can't give away too much because it's just a tease, but then you have the full-blown trailer that, you know, it's the same way with posters. So this was cool. This was something I found online that kind of summed up a lot of the main issues that that some posters have. Josh, do you want to guess? I want you to guess each of these posters as we go through them to see if you can, because I don't have the
Okay.
full-blown posters. These are
So I think that top one is the movie where she, like, runs away with her mom.
who's she?
Melissa McCarthy
Okay.
runs away with her mom, and they're, like, bank robbers or something. Do you remember
that-
that movie?
I can't remember which Melissa McCarthy. Is that Like a Boss or is that Tammy?
Might
Or
be Tammy, I think, is what it is.
I think is Jason Bateman in that one.
Yeah,
think.
I
yeah,
can
she steals.
see- I can
No,
see
that's
the
identity. That's
trailer
Identity Thief.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, with Jason
Yeah,
Bateman.
That's
Okay.
what I think it is.
That's actually The Heat with Sandra Bullock, and the first category for this, it says inhuman photoshopping, and that's essentially just crappy photoshopping. We have a couple examples that we're gonna get to later, but you can always tell there's always something a little bit off. You know, like in Justice League with Henry Cavill's
I'm
mustache.
just, like, staring at her face.
Yeah, you're like,
so-
it just
like,
doesn't
there's,
quite.
like, a 6 head
Yeah.
between her eyebrows and her hairline.
Yeah, something with her mouth, like the lips are a little off. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like you could tell there's either coloring or an eye line. There's just some Photoshop that did not connect.
Yeah.
And that's become more common as
Yeah.
Photoshop has become popular, you know, in the last decade or so. The second one is cheesy posing, and we have your favorite person in the world after Paul Rudd,
It's probably a great movie.
John
'cause
Hamm.
John Hamm's in it.
Do you know what movie that is?
No, but I bet it's great.
That is $1 Million Arm, which was a Disney movie about.
that movie sucks.
He plays a sports agent who
About
goes to India.
About the real life pictures that the pirate signed that never made it. To
I forgot that
Major
was the Pirates.
It's the Pirates who signed those
That's
guys.
right. John Hamm. So his character goes to India to scout cricket bowlers
Yeah.
to come pitch baseball in America. And it's
Yes.
funny because it's the Pirates, and it's like, man, they couldn't even get anyone in our own system at all. They went to India to try and find some guys over there who had never played baseball before to see if they could do it, right? But so
Guess what? It didn't work. Just like 90% of the Pirates management over the past 20, 30 years.
yeah, give him credit for thinking outside the box. But yeah, so this poster it's him in the backdrop of India, and he's got the jacket over his shoulder, kind of staring off into the distance with
He's
a
like,
with a phone in his
I
hand.
wish I was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking right
Right.
there. Yeah. Okay, this third one is an interesting one. Unreadable text, right? You have this poster, you have the rainbow backdrop, and then the white text over it, which is blending in with all the colors, right? So it's you're like, what does that say exactly? Any idea what that movie is?
I want to say it's the Royal Tenenbaums, but I know it's not.
It is not the Royal Tenenbaums.
That's a great movie
Yes.
and a great poster.
Wes Anderson would never allow something like this to happen.
You know what? I'm sorry, Wes. I
Yeah.
did not mean to personally offend you, which that would have offended him.
And his posters are fantastic
Yes.
because that's a great example of a filmmaker whose hands go so deep that they're in the poster, right? Like his visual style, Wes Anderson's, is very iconic.
Yeah.
And you see that in his movie posters as well. And a lot of times filmmakers aren't involved in marketing of the movie. Like David Fincher is very specific about doing that. Wes Anderson obviously is, but that's not always the case.
Some may say that his posters are more interesting than the movies.
Yeah, depending on which, movie you're talking
I'm
about.
thinking particularly of the Boy Scout and the Girl Scout, and they like run away.
Oh, Moonrise Kingdom? That's a
I
great
hate
movie.
That movie.
Oh, that's a delightful
so
movie.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a good
Why
one.
are they in their underwear so much in that movie? It's unsettling.
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's brutal.
It was a great movie though. I can't remember what that poster is, but you get
Okay.
the idea with the text.
It looks like a shitty movie.
Yeah, it was something I didn't recognize when I read it online.
Yeah.
So number 4 way to make your movie poster suck: sensory overload.
I
And
know what one that is.
what movie is that?
That is Thor: Dark World.
Thor 2: The Dark World, the bane of Marvel's existence currently.
That movie wasn't that bad. Hot take. That wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that good. Like maybe it's just because all the other Marvel movies have such a high
Listen,
standard.
you are a brother that, well, you guys don't really have a rivalry, but you did at one point in your life maybe have some rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what that whole movie's about. It's a brother movie. Look through it with that lens, and it's a much better movie.
It's fine. It's like it's just in relation to all the other Marvel movies.
Listen,
it's
not
like
everything's gonna be fucking Ragnarok, where Jeff Goldblum's running around being Jeff Goldblum, and the Hulk is fucking girls inside of a chamber.
I forget about Thor Ragnarok, which is
Dude,
it's
that's one
definitely
of the
like
gems.
distinct, Taika's styles all over that movie for sure.
I mean, that's one of the
Man.
when you think about the gems, it's Iron Man 1, Endgame, Guardians,
I wouldn't put
Ragnarok,
What? I don't know about that one.
and that's probably like those are and Black Panther.
I don't
Those are
remember
like
the
the big
story
five.
of Ragnarok at all, except that his sister's evil and Kate Blanchett's awesome, and I love her. But
He's trapped on that world,
okay,
and then he's got to get off. He finds out that the Hulk is like this champion there,
yeah, and then he has to fight him or whatever.
and then he has to fight him. He's like,
Okay.
"It's my friend from work." Like, it's great. It's brilliant. It's
That was a
fucking
good
awesome.
Chris Hemsworth impression.
Thanks.
If you keep doing your bench presses, you'll be exactly like him. You'll be exact with that impression and the bench pressing
in the hair,
and the hair, the flow, obviously.
just like Thor.
Exactly. I
Just
feel like
like
I'm
him.
sitting right next to him.
I know.
It's bizarre.
It's great.
So sensory
I
overload.
cannot sit at this table. I need to be behind the desk.
Can we get some
I
plexiglass
don't-
in here?
I don't know what to do with my hands. Ricky Bobby. No.
So sensory overload, what that means, and we'll have a couple more examples of that one later too. This is very common with all the Marvel movies, and it essentially is putting so many things on the poster that you're like, you're looking all over the place, right? It's like there's 20 different characters, there's different worlds, there's colors and lights and all these just visual things, too much going on.
The style is borrowed from Drew directly. Drew
Okay.
Stritzerman. I mean, once you see Drew Stritzerman, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's what Marvel's trying to do, but they didn't get him to do it.
Okay, interesting.
It's like it's carbon copied.
Gotcha. Well then, yeah, when we get more into Drew later, that'll be interesting to talk about. But yeah, so sensory overload, just putting too much on there, it overwhelms the person because they're trying to figure out, there's little people tucked in there, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out like which character is that, or like there's on this poster, the villain's kind of like shadowy, faded in the background, you can't see him too well. So just trying to do too much, obviously. And then we have Jared Leto here in the last one at number 5. Just unbearably unsettling imagery. I mean, if you see this whole poster, it's just it's Jared Leto in this fat suit, and it's just really
poster
kind of
is it?
disturbing. I can't remember.
Nick, can you don't remember?
I can't.
Never mind.
No. But it was a
Never
movie
mind.
I'd never heard of with Jared Leto. But
We got to know the movie to pull it up.
Yeah,
I was like,
right?
pull up that Jared Leto
Nick, just
poster.
get us
Don't
the
you know
movie.
it? Oh, come on.
But yeah, so these list of things are kind of the basics for don't do any of these and you'll have a decent chance of having a solid movie poster. You know, poor photoshopping, cheesy ass posing.
Yeah.
You know, text blending in with color so
Sure.
you can't read it. Trying to do too much and then just having things that are like, ew, I don't want to see that. Because the idea is, like we said, as the first visual of the movie, you want to attract people. You want to make them curious. You want them to say, ooh, that looks really interesting. I want to see that movie.
And we're going to talk about it more later when we get into the good ones. So let's not
Yeah.
waste our breath on the bad ones.
Yes.
But it is often the thing I remember the most.
The movie poster?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Oh, he found it. Look at you.
Jared Leto in Chapter 27.
If you go to browser
Yeah.
on the left-hand side, you should be able to show everybody.
I want to say he plays Mark David
Or
Chapman
screen share. There it is.
in that movie, who,
And then double-click on Chrome.
you know, John Lennon's
On
killer.
the Chrome inside of Source. And then click that. And then, yep. There we
Boom.
go. Boom.
Yeah, this is the movie
That
we're talking
is
about.
disturbing.
Like, no one wants to see this version of Jared Leto on a movie poster,
Nobody
right?
wants to see Jared Leto in a movie anymore, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
And if I had to guess, I would say this is about the, you know, John Lennon's killer, which I believe that's what this movie is about.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, so
Dear.
again, that's just, you know, no one wants to look at that.
Oh, is this the role where he added too much weight and literally like gave himself a disease?
It could be. I don't remember any
think
other
this
roles
is
there
it.
where he was like a
Yeah.
fat guy. So yeah, this is definitely about John Lennon's killer, Mark David Chapman. Yep, there you go.
Okay.
So, okay, so that's
go
some
back
of the
to the
things you don't want to
topics.
do, right?
Yep.
Now we're going to talk about some current trends in movie
Mm-hmm.
posters, and one in particular which I noticed. You know, I've worked at a movie theater for like 10 years of my life, not currently, but very, very many years of my life. And I remember in high school noticing this trend and being like, why am I seeing this so much? I don't like it. I don't get it. I don't really know. But let's talk about it. So this is trends in movie posters, and we're going to talk about two colors that are very prominent in a lot of posters. The colors blue and orange. And if anyone's watched this before, they know I'm a super
In stills.
I'm a color fiend, and I love color psychology and the things you do with it. So let's bring up some posters of late that have used the blue and orange trend, right? And it's interesting because they're opposite
Can we
colors.
kick out a studio mode real quick?
They're opposing colors, right? Just
Thanks.
like yellow and purple and red and green of the six main colors. Those are the three pairs of opposing colors. But for some reason, blue and orange seem to be what designers love to use on posters. And there's plenty of examples here of the ways that they can contrast. Some, you know, pretty blatantly, like G.I. Joe, where it's half and half. Others like Brave, where it's, you know, just kind of a tingle in the hair, or Dark Knight Rises, where it's, you know, the flames on the side of the building. But have you, Josh, do you know, why do you think they use blue and orange so much as opposed to some of the other pairs? Do you have any idea why that might be?
Yeah. No. I mean, I don't, because like I guess like they're probably the most complementary that is the least abrasive, right? So if you think about it, a green and red combo is Christmas. It's always fucking Christmas. So you can't use those colors without suggesting it's a Christmas movie. Like what are some other complementary color waves?
Purple and yellow.
I think purple and yellow and I'm thinking of particularly the Project Power poster is a lot of purple and yellow.
Okay.
And I think it's scary then.
That's probably New Orleans themed for that movie.
Well,
But-
shit, I didn't
yeah.
even put that together.
But interesting take.
But yeah, I feel like
You can go back to the blue and orange. Nick.
I think that they're scarier.
Like
than,
they're
like,
they're
this.
yeah, more
Like,
jarring.
I see the Jodie Foster movie.
Flight Plan, yeah.
Yeah. That's a scary movie, but the rest of these are kind of like action or, you know, like Night at the Museum's a kid's movie, Fantastic Four's a kid's movie, Brave's a kid's movie.
Yeah.
What's
think
that one in the middle? Underneath
Born
Bourne.
Identity. Tron.
Oh,
Tron, the new Tron movie.
okay.
Yeah.
So
That was more blue and yellow, but
yeah.
you know, something that's interesting, and I can't confirm this because I don't know enough about why designers try this, but blue and orange represent hot and cold, right? It's a
Absolutely.
very common thing in filmmaking, lighting-wise and cinematography-wise, right? You have, going back to the early days of color and film, you always had, blue and red were sort of day and night, and you would have a red filter on the camera if you wanted it to come across as more of like a hot daylight sort of, look, and you could put a blue lens on the camera, blue filter if you wanted more of a nighttime look. You also have, with lighting, you either have a tungsten bulb or an LED or fluorescent bulb, which are kind of the basics, and those are
Should
blue
we do
and
that
orange.
here?
So,
Go back, Nick. Go back to us.
What? Yeah,
See
sure.
how I'm blue and Justin's yellow?
yeah.
I'm night. I'm scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
Ooh.
little warmer on me because I'm orange, and you have the LED, so it's a little,
Now I'm warm too. Now
Right.
I'm back to being happy.
Although
and not
actually, I
stabbing
think technically blue is warm because blue is hotter than orange on a flame and on the grand scheme of colors. But that's neither here nor there. But I think so. It could be that, like lighting in film is often representative with blue and orange of safe spaces versus dangerous spaces. I know in Black Hawk Down, Ridley Scott actually flips it on his head, and he uses a lot of blue LED lights to represent safety, and a lot of warm orange lights to represent sort of fire and danger, which is usually the opposite. You think orange lighting, that's warmth, that's safety. Blue lighting, white lighting is coldness and emptiness and a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah,
So-
when I watched recently Child's Play, the 2019 version,
Okay.
and it's something that was pretty predominant that stood out to me just now thinking back on it, is that the apartment is always orange. And Chucky doesn't kill anybody in the apartment until he takes over all the stuff and he turns it blue. It's kind of interesting.
That is interesting. I didn't see that one.
By the way,
But
it's you said nobody saw it, right? It didn't do well.
Child's Play?
Yeah.
Nah, not really. Did okay.
Underrated.
The new one with Aubrey Plaza?
Underrated.
Oh, interesting.
It's fun. It's a brand new origin story for Chucky that's kind of unique. It modernizes it where he's basically a Google doll. And he can interact with like your Google Home and your thermostat and all that other shit. He can turn it on and off your TV and like it gets wild.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it
awesome.
is the season for that. It's October, so that would be a good time for it.
It's on Prime.
Amazon Prime?
Yep.
Nice. I actually remember in college I did a paper on Hugo, the Martin Scorsese movie's lighting.
Great movie. That
Because
was the first movie I ever watched alone in theater.
Really? Beautiful lighting in that one, and I remember writing a paper on it because the two children characters in that movie represent the colors blue and red. Hugo Cabret, played by Asa Butterfield, is an orphan. He lives a very cold and desolate life in a train station, and he wears a lot of blue colors.
Sorry.
All of the lighting on him casts a blue glow, and he meets this girl played by a young Chloe Grace Moretz. She is the opposite. She wears very red clothing. She is always bathed in red lighting. So it's like she's kind of the warmth that comes into his light. So I remember thinking about that, a decade ago. And again, these are theories. I don't know if this translates well to the blue and orange of movie posters, but it's certainly, of all the colors, that's a common dynamic of opposing, sort of forces.
I buy it.
So it's interesting. It's something just to keep an eye out in design when you guys are looking at posters. You cannot talk about movie posters without mentioning Saul Bass. He
Correct.
is sort of, I don't want to say he's the father of modern graphic design, but he is like the one guy, if you ever take a class on it, that you will undoubtedly talk about. Not only is he known for his movie posters, which we'll show you in a second, he's done corporate logos, like he did AT&T's logo. He's done a bunch of film title sequences, like Goodfellas, and he's done Vertigo. Like he worked with all the big directors, Scorsese, Kubrick, Billy Wilder. Actually, here's a piece of trivia. Can you guess what the last movie credit of Saul Bass's was that he did the titles for? It was in the 90s. And it was a Scorsese movie. That's all I'll tell you.
Then Goodfellas.
It was not Goodfellas. It was Casino, actually. So close.
Interesting.
Yeah, Casino was the last movie that he did the titles for. But these are some of Saul Bass's movie posters, and he has such an incredibly distinct
I just
style.
had to make sure that somebody I want to talk about today wasn't born before him. But no, yes, Saul
Okay.
Bass was OG.
Nice. Yeah,
From
he was
everything
the
I can
OG. 40-year career, big in the 50s and 60s and all the way through the 90s. But so, you can see he has such a distinct style, not only with his colors, but then also with the design of his movies, which are really intricate 2D designed, flatter images that aren't super complex. Like there's almost like a simplistic nature to them, you know? The West Side Story one is iconic. The
What am I
Vertigo
thinking?
one on the bottom right.
I
The
wanna
Shining
say
is
it's
not
Art
on
Deco,
here.
but it's not Art Deco. But it is Art Deco. It's art. He created Art Deco without, like, you think of Art Deco was a phrase used for like 70s, right? 60s, 70s furniture, right? Is Art Deco.
Okay.
This kind of artwork fits in with that style where everything's very squared and dramatic round shapes, and you have these weird pastel-y colors. They're not the full brightness. They're kind of like a dulled version. Like that's what this is.
I buy that. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a look that there's a certain time period to there's a look
Mad
and
Men.
feel. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it's the birth of advertising in magazines that is built and meant to control what you buy.
I totally buy that. Absolutely. And so I really wanted one that had The Shining on it, but I couldn't find one that had like a ton of them because he's done many more than these. But obviously, these are some of his
Nick, can you
more
Google
well-known ones.
Saul Bass Shining?
Yeah, I mean
poster?
it's the yellow poster with
Right.
the. Oh, you don't know because you haven't seen the movie, but I just throwing that out there. We're gonna do it though. We'll get it done.
And then,
But,
yeah, you got it, bud.
Yeah, so in it,
Screen share.
there's a simplism to them, and there's the color palette. It's like reds, yellows, and oranges, right? He doesn't do a lot of like blues, greens, and purples, right? So he stays on that side of the color wheel. Yeah, this is The Shining, which is one of his probably more famous images. That electric yellow, and the text is very his typography is really interesting because it's very different in all of his posters, and it's such a big part of movie posters that a lot of people don't think about, right? They just kind
Dude,
of
I'm
look.
just locked in on this right
They
now.
just kind of look at the images and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's Brad Pitt's in this movie or whatever." People don't realize the design, the composition, the typography, all these things that go into it, and the color besides just like the actors, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like you said, it just draws you in because it's so electric. But so Saul Bass was sort of the father of movie poster design, title sequence design, corporate graphic design, all these different things. And he paved the way for guys like our next topic that you are going to discuss, because I don't know who the hell this is, and I'm looking forward to learning. So, Josh, please enlighten me. Learn me something, would you?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick 30-second commercial break,
Oh, you bastard.
and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to wreck Justin's world because there is one human who designed some of the most important movie posters of our lifetime. So, Nick, go ahead and take us to Idiot Hour commercial. Perfect. We'll be right back after this.
We're calling it the Idiot Hour. Hey, Denny Hamlin, new NASCAR fan here.
You really but you gotta blow.
He wears the skull of his dead mother. And then when he finally copes with the death of his mother,
He becomes his
he
mother.
becomes Marowak.
Correction. Ovi is the greatest offensive talent we've ever seen.
I am E.
You dumbass.
All right. Nick, pull up the topic because I can't remember this guy's last name without it. Drew.
You called him the Legend earlier. That was your name.
Okay,
for
so
him.
Drew Struzman.
Drew the Legend, whatever his
Struzman.
name is.
Show him the graphic, Nick. Show him the graphic. What's up? Indiana Jones, Star Wars. What's
Some other movie.
other movie?
Some really good movie.
God.
Hellboy. All right. Yeah, that's Hellboy
no,
2.
I
the
know,
Golden
but
Army.
that's not what I'm trying to think of.
Guillermo del Toro. Ron
Back to
Perlman.
the Future, Harry Potter.
You forgot Back to the Future?
I did.
Oh,
Shawshank Redemption. Can we pull up the individual posters here, and we're just gonna burn through these. All right, so there's.
How did
your-
you find out
your
about this
Saul
guy?
Bass one.
Drew
Okay.
Struzan.
So Drew Struzan there's a the Drew Behind the Poster is the name of the documentary, and it's all about design.
Really?
Yeah, and poster design. And it's all based on the fact that this guy did all of these amazing posters and nobody fucking knows about it. Start with Big Trouble Little China.
Is this like a Netflix documentary? Or
Boom.
Where?
Yeah. No, it's just like a regular documentary.
Okay.
You can find it. It's not on anything right now. You would have to rent it or buy it. But like, okay, so Big Trouble Little China, right? Next one. The fucking Goonies. Goonies
Oof.
Never Say Die.
What an incredible poster too.
Right? Isn't that Hook? Right?
Yeah.
All of the
Spielberg's
Indiana
movies.
fucking Jones movies.
Okay. Wow, he's really going back in time. That was the 80s.
Yeah. Shawshank. Okay? This one. Harry fucking Potter.
Wow.
That's all of them.
Here, hold on a second. Let's hold on Harry Potter for a second.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, with this Harry Potter poster,
Yes.
do you think that this falls into the category of sensory overload? One of the ones we talked about that is makes for, too much going on, that it's a turnoff for the poster.
Nick, let's make that full screen there on Get Out of Studio.
And
Mode
this
for
doesn't
me.
even have.
Just click the eye next to Harry Potter. You're
And
good.
this doesn't even have the film credits on it, right? Which would take up even
No,
more
this
of the
is
bottom.
just the painting.
This is the actual,
Yeah.
just the visuals from the movie. Do you feel that this is sensory overload at all?
No, because it is his style, right? It's the main character in the front, the extra characters around. And this is what I was talking about when I was talking about that Avengers kind of tried to borrow this, right? And I don't think it's sensory overload because here's one major reason. This is a painting. All of Drew's are paintings.
You mean the style that they're done in terms of like the.
That's not Photoshop. That's painted.
Okay.
And that's kind of the gist of the movie, right? Is that, or the documentary, is that where people go wrong is that they approach it like a poster or an advertisement, not a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And so his idea is that if you paint all of them, then you have to treat them like a piece of art.
Well, that's an interesting idea.
And so, Nick, can you pull up in stills is the final most damning piece of evidence as to why he's the GOAT? Go ahead and, yep. And then the next one, Star Wars
Well,
prequels.
it can't be the GOAT. I mean, Saul Bass is the GOAT.
Boom, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't thought about that before, but certainly.
Yeah, so I don't know how much everybody missed or caught there. Why is Riverdale always blue? Because it's moody and scary, Anastasia. That's why. Like literally,
watch the show, I couldn't
that's
say.
why it is.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
always blue, and like you think about when they're in Pops and like the invaders are always coming. Whoever the bad guy is, right? Like the neon of the red Pops logo is always bright on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know a bad guy's coming.
But a quick recap. If
Yeah,
if
so-
the audio cut out there for a second.
So anyway, these I just feel are just maybe the best movie posters ever. The first one is a microcosm of the movie. Like it takes you from everything that's in that movie. You can see it there in that poster. Then the second one is so it's almost like the melted face. Do you know what I'm talking about? Scream. The famous painting,
Sure.
the Scream,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's how this feels, right? Where it's like nothing could go right here. Like you can see our main characters look separated. It looks like Leia's dying and Han's holding her, and it's all being overwatched by Vader, and it feels really like impending doom. And then you see Jedi, and everything's bright again, and our heroes look great, right? Han's
Yeah, very
got the
triumphant type of
right.
thing. You
The
know,
Han's
Han
got
and
the
Luke.
blaster. Luke's got the lightsaber. Leia's being a babe.
Naturally.
Yeah. Calrissian's just like helping. You know what I mean? And like Vader is the biggest. Like that's the most of Vader we see in all three of the posters. But he just feels like, the stars are in front of him. He feels like he's being pushed further into the background. Like he's not going to control our characters anymore. And then in the prequels, if we could just
Well,
pull
hold on.
those-
Before we
oh,
go to the
yeah.
prequels, what's interesting about Return of the Jedi is if you look at the placement of the characters, right? You have Vader's really interesting. So in the first one, he's a little bit in the background, but the focus is on sort of Luke and
Yep.
Leia and Han, right?
Yeah.
In the Empire, he's kind of shadowy in the background, like he's just hanging over everything,
Yep.
right? This force, this
Yep.
darkness. And then in the third one, he and Luke are sort of
Together.
one. Yeah, I mean they're directly centered on each other to represent, Luke's lineage with him and their connection and everything.
And
so.
really, they're kind of aligned in a straight line, all four of them.
Mm-hmm.
As, Han is technically Luke's brother-in-law.
I guess, yeah.
He
No, they didn't.
is.
I mean, they didn't get married, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, but it's
Um,
it's just interesting. Another element of it to think about is placement of certain things.
Right. And
certain
then can we
images.
go to the prequels? Thanks, Nick. This, I think, is some of his best work. Because you see, like, the journey of the Anakin character, right? He's real little and up front, then he's kind of like a bigger teenager in the back, and then he's Vader. Like, yes, you see Anakin in human form, if you want to call it that, in the third poster, but he's much smaller than he is in the other ones, and it's Vader looming over top of it.
Definitely.
Um,
I mean, these are all so fantastic. And say what you want about the prequels. Personally, I love the prequels, and I think they're better than the last trilogy that came out. But I mean, the design of these are just so iconic in their own way.
I also love that the clone troopers are up front in the second one. But so yeah, that's the work of Drew Struzman, and as if Saul Bass like invented it, I think he perfected it. And yes, it's very much one style. It's what Marvel has used. It's what most team up movies have used, and I really like it though, and I think it's a lot of those posters, Goonies, Hook, well, maybe not Goonies, but Hook, I remember seeing as a kid in theaters. I remember seeing that Harry Potter poster, like, is right in the front of my brain as seeing that inside of a movie theater for the first time and thinking, it's fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like,
It comes to life.
it's Harry
Yeah.
fucking Potter.
Because until you see that image, especially when it's a book, it only exists to you in your mind, right? And then you see the image on this giant poster and you see all the characters come to life. It all becomes real,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not just something
Yeah.
in your head or on the cover of a
Yeah.
book. It's real. Like you can see everything right there, which is so great.
And my favorite poster, which will be my last poster we talk about tonight, is because I remember walking into the theater not knowing this movie existed and seeing it and being like, oh my God, it's happening. So, but yeah, so those are some of the dudes who did not do bad posters. They did great posters.
Indeed.
And so now let's talk about some ugly ones.
Yeah. And I don't know if ugly is the right word, because but they're definitely, these are ones that are not great. And there are various reasons why, which are going to call back to the original things that we talked about, some things that don't make a movie great, or don't make a movie poster great, right? So let's talk about this one first. We have Fired Up. So this movie came out in like 2010. It's some kind of
2 guys, 30 girls. You do the math.
I think it's some kind of cheerleader movie. I can't remember. But when you look at this poster, this is the opposite of sensory overload. This is sensory underload. This is
not in a good way.
This is what the hell is this movie supposed to be?
Right.
I mean, it says "FU" real big. Okay. And it says Fired Up. Is that the title of the movie? Is it just like the tagline, the catchphrase?
No, Get Fired Up This Spring is the
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. This is so
It's
horrible.
just as
But this
bad.
tells you absolutely nothing about the movie.
No.
This does the opposite, the complete opposite of what you want a poster to do. 2 guys, 300 girls. You do the math. I don't know what that means. Is that like
150 per? How do you like that?
That was solid, man. Yeah.
That was
Nicely-
me.
nicely
I
done.
did it.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Crushed it on that one.
Woo!
Still no idea what the fuck this movie's about.
No.
So this definitely is minimalism at its worst.
Agreed. It's pretty terrible.
Okay, what's the next one that we have? Gods of Egypt. I remember. Okay, so I worked.
You were so. You
I
like, came out
remember
of
the
your
moment
chair.
that I saw this poster. So this was a film that my very first job in Los Angeles was working as an intern in development at the production company that produced this movie called Thunder Road, which I love them, and that's a great company. They've done a lot of great movies. This was one of their movies, and I remember seeing this poster in Los Angeles, and it was next to another one that I don't have because it's pretty much the same thing. It's the silver version of this. And walking down the hallway in the movie theater and seeing this poster, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. What is somebody supposed to take from this, right? This movie is
They let an intern design it.
This movie is supposed to be about gods in ancient Egypt, like fighting each other, like a massive battle between Gerard Butler's evil god and then other, Nikolai Coster-Waldau's good god, and but it's those sort of characters that you learn about, all the ancient Egyptian stuff, really cool stuff. And not only does this have nothing on it at all, but it's like, what is that even supposed to be? And Gods of Egypt, how does that relate to, like, when you think of Egypt and you think of tombs and the hieroglyphs
Is it
and
Anubis?
stuff? I don't know. It looks like some kind of it looks like Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman 84. Like, she's got that gold costume now. That's what this looks like. But this does not make me think of anything remotely
Is it Anubis?
Egyptian. Anubis is like the guy with the jackal head. This is some golden encrusted fucking I don't even know. Yeah.
No, I guess maybe it's not Anubis.
I mean, you saw The Mummy, right? So know
Yeah.
what ancient Egypt should look like. Tell me,
Brendan Fraser should be in it.
if Brendan Fraser was in
Brendan
this
Fraser
poster,
movies for 300,
if he
please.
was in this poster, I would like it a lot more.
What is Monkey Bone?
What's the tagline? All of creation is at stake. Okay, be more generic.
Is that Raw?
Jesus.
Maybe it's Raw.
Right? But yeah, so again, this is like, it tells you absolutely zero. 80% of this is just gold, the color gold.
Well, and also, okay, so let's get technical here. Okay, so first off,
get
you should never bevel and emboss something unless you're trying to make it, look like metal. And you should never bevel and emboss words, which is exactly what they did with Gods of Egypt.
What is bevel and emboss mean?
It's something you can do to words in Photoshop and Illustrator
Like to make them
to make them look exactly like that.
Okay.
So, reasons to use bevel and emboss. If you are a sports show and you want to make the sports team logo look cooler, use bevel and emboss. Bevel and emboss is actually somewhere else on this screen. It's being used in the neon tube lighting thing.
Okay. Well, I like it in that.
Yeah,
sense.
that looks great,
Yes.
right? Yeah, thanks, humble brag. I did great. Second, so the bevel and emboss on text, never do that. Second, the gold is not even.
No, I mean, it's like 50 Shades of Gold here.
So, there's it looks like a vignette that's not completed on this poster on the right hand side as I'm looking at it. It's probably left hand side to you guys.
Well, that you have to do because if you just have one flat gold color, like that would be even
Okay,
worse.
but like then do it even in the middle. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like it's unbalanced.
like why is it unbalanced? And then it makes me think that maybe it should be sitting next to another poster, and then it like connects.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like I said, yeah, there was that silver one, but even like this just should never have been a thing.
Also, I don't know which Egyptian god that is, but I feel like it should have a tail. Why does it not have a tail?
How can you even associate that image with an Egyptian god?
No,
like, at all.
You know what it makes me think of is
It
like
looks
World
like
of
Iron
Warcraft.
Man. It looks more like Iron Man than it does anything from 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I
Makes
can
me
tell
so
it's
angry.
fictional character, but it's not great. Also, then you totally change fonts 3 times in this poster.
That's interesting.
So
do.
you have the bevel and emboss of Gods of Egypt. The tagline is completely different from February 26th.
Yeah.
Gods
Weird.
of Egypt movie poster character. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick's like, I have to find this for him. He's gonna lose his fucking
Yeah,
mind.
well, I mean, because again, this was probably the teaser poster, but in there were more with actual Gerard Butler and
Yeah,
Nikolai
and
Autumn,
and I just like this. Yeah, this is probably the ugliest thing I've seen, and I think that when we get into it later, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you some other minimalist ones, particularly one that was based that was released in 1993. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. Spoiler alert! But it's a super simple one that's kind of like this in the fact that
Yeah.
it's like one color and a logo, and
oh, gee, I
that's
wonder
it.
which one that is.
I don't know.
Nick, can you pull up what you're looking at right now? Because that's actually a really interesting image and terrible other poster for Gods of Egypt. Just an alternative one. So this is another one that we
this
have.
is just as bad.
Jamie Lannister as who's it? Horus? Yeah, Horus, the god Horus, who technically in all of ancient Egyptian lore or history, whatever you want to call it, has the head of like an owl,
Yeah,
I believe,
yeah.
or some kind of bird.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's got good hair.
I
that's-
guess,
that's
but
his feathers.
again, like, how do you connect this to the gods that you learn
Look,
about
and then
in
this is a
school?
completely different font again. What are they fucking doing? Who let this shit go?
I don't know, but just stuff you don't want to do.
Marketing department was asleep at the wheel.
What's the next one that we
Okay.
have?
Poor Nick. Let's give Nick a second to get
Nick's,
back. There we
Nick's
go.
killing it
Awesome.
so far. Keep killing it, Nick.
This is the greatest Photoshop
Oh,
I've ever
Magic
fucking
in the Moonlight.
seen.
Yeah, and this was
This
like
is brilliant.
you can find articles online. I remember when
I
this
didn't
came
even
out.
recognize that was Emma Stone.
People were like, what's going on with this
It's so
poster?
bad.
So this is an example of our number one what not to do in movie posters, which is just terrible Photoshop, right? I mean, is there anything about this that looks like these two people are in the same image, let alone with that
or
background?
that hand, those hands belong to her.
The hands are weird. Colin Firth's hat is just so big, like
Yeah, and like it's just like bloop, placed up there. It's not really even like it's not they didn't fade it in or like curve the back of it to
Yeah.
match his head.
like there's nothing that makes me believe he's wearing a hat in this image.
Or Emma Stone's hat is the same way. It's just blooped on there. And like the lighting's all fucking weird. Like the lighting in the picture is coming from the right. The lighting on Emma Stone's coming from the left. And the lighting on Colin Firth is just dead on.
Yeah, like there's hot sides of each of them that don't make any sense. And also, here's another example. I didn't pull the Ride Along poster. This was an issue in the Ride Along poster when it first came out. Look at Colin Firth's eye line. It's like he's looking at the top of her hat.
Yeah.
Not even close to her actual
No.
eyes. So this is just a terrible example of Photoshop. Not all movie posters are this bad. This is like on
Like
the
why
worse
isn't
end.
she casting a shadow on him?
It kind of is. Like
She's
under
in
her
front of
elbow.
him.
Yeah.
Like why is the front of her shirt it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, but this is just, and Woody Allen's posters are generally not this bad. In fact, he's got one or two that are in our favorites. But for this one, I don't know. It's just
like
so off.
It's like the beginning of CGI. Is what it looks
this
like.
This was I think around 2010 or 11.
It's really bad.
But still, I mean, you have essentially 3 images. You have 2 people and a generic background, right?
Yeah.
So it should not be this far off in terms of lights and shadows.
Look at I just noticed the light that's like down on his hat.
Yeah, like coming from above. Yeah, her entire left side of her face is hot, where his right side is hot.
Yeah.
And then there's the above blue light on his hat, which is clearly studio lighting and everything. So yeah, it's just
Oh, it's
the
so
Photoshop in this poster could not be worse.
I love it.
So again,
I actually love how bad that is. Like Gods of Egypt makes me angry,
Yeah.
but this I'm just like, oh man.
this is like the Project
Somebody had-
Power of posters. You're
Somebody
like,
quit
I just like
immediately
shitting on
after
it.
this. They were like, here it is, bye.
This was a walkout poster.
Yeah.
Good call. Okay. And we're still in like the bad section of posters, right? But
This is a bad poster.
in Marvel, as they added people to their movies, they just got more and more
They got in
insane
trouble.
with them. And we talked about one of the things we talked about with bad movie posters is sensory overload. We referenced Thor: The Dark World, but this is Avengers: Endgame, which is obviously the most characters in any movie ever, it seems. And you are trying to. I guarantee you, they're not all on this poster, right? There were issues when the posters first came out about people being left off or certain people being bigger than others, but I mean,
These
when I
are
look at
all
this,
the people that we know are alive after the snap.
okay,
That's who's on this poster.
you know what? Maybe we should have used Infinity War because that's literally everybody, right?
yeah.
But still, the point is, there is just so many. There's so much time. Don Cheadle is like barely there. Paul Rudd is like barely there.
That's
It's
a
like
shame. Paul Rudd should be exactly where Chris Evans is.
indeed he should. Well, we know how you feel about that, right? But again,
He
so
should have been Captain America.
This is sensory overload because you have too many characters,
Yeah.
and this is more of like Marvel specific. But again, we have one for Spider-Man: Homecoming. Let's look at that one, which is sort of a lesser version.
So this one, you were like, "Hey, show this poster." And I'm like, "That's not the poster for Homecoming. The poster for Homecoming is him laying in the yellow jacket, and it's like kind of a tilt, and he's laying on his back."
Right.
And then that's when I found out the difference between a teaser poster and this poster.
Exactly. Yes. And when I see this, I think of the very first Iron Man poster,
Yeah.
which was like Tony Stark and then Obadiah and like Iron Man shooting through the middle of
And
it.
like that's like an old Iron Man costume. That's not even the right suit.
Yeah. I mean, this is again trying to do too much in my opinion. Too many. When you have too many characters and you try to throw them all on there, like I don't even know who those people under Michael Keaton are. Oh, it's Marissa Tomei and Happy. Is that who that is?
Yep.
Like yeah, but it's so small that it's like, it's almost distracting because you're like trying to squint. You're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. So this is a lesser version of trying to
Well,
do
and
too
like,
much.
I mean, if you look at this right away, your eyes kind of go to the villain and Tony Stark and Peter, right? Like, that's kind of your eyes go to the upper right. And like, if you just like glance by this, you'd be like, oh, that's weird that they have those two actors not in an Iron Man or Spider-Man movie. Like, you almost don't even see the fucking superheroes.
Well, you can't miss Spider-Man.
I do every time. I go
Really?
right to the upper right, and
Yeah.
I'm like, look at that handsome Robert Downey Jr.
He
and
is-
then that's
he
about
is
all
handsome.
I got. Like I do not like this at all.
Yeah, it's just and again, superhero movies are a little bit different animals. But
And the other poster's so good. Can we pull up Spider-Man: Homecoming?
the one where he's just laying on his back.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
perfect. Like I remember seeing it and being like, "That's a great fucking poster."
Yeah, I mean, it says so much, and it's so simple. And
There it is. Yep.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you exactly what you want to see from Spider-Man. It's him, and it's New York, but he's
Right.
also like got a youthful feel. He's got the
Well,
headphones on. He's
yeah,
got the
he's
jacket.
got his jacket
like,
on, his headphones. Like
Yeah.
it's.
This is like you could tell this
That's
is a
it.
more youthful type of Spider-Man.
If we ever had a studio where we got to put posters up, I probably wouldn't put this poster up, but I would think about it.
Okay, interesting. It's like an honorable mention.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be an honorable mention. Maybe if we had like a comic book section of our thoughts from the bench tower.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, I do like that poster a lot because it's simple, but it says so much.
Yeah.
Do we have any others for? I think those are it for the crappy
Yeah,
ones.
that's it for
But again,
crappy.
those all reference things that we talked about in the beginning of
Yes.
bad Photoshop, sensory overload, things like that you want to stay away from.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about some of
The
legends. Yes, and we don't mean Drew Struzan, who you also think is the legend. We mean actual posters.
I don't think Drew did any of these. Maybe
actual
he did. Some
posters.
of them are Spielberg. So yeah, let's get into the first one. This movie poster sent chills down the spines of just about everybody in the early 90s. Alien.
I didn't see Alien until like a year ago for the first
It's
time.
fine.
I love the first one and the second one so much. I mean, equally because they're so different.
They are very different, and this is just so brilliant. The egg and then the bodies, and you're not really sure what that is until you get closer to it. Like, oh my God, those are bodies, and like, I think the tagline is "It's coming" or something like that.
No, it's in space. No one can hear you scream.
Oh, even better, even fucking better.
What a great tagline.
So good.
Taglines really are another unsung part of movie posters that don't get enough.
We could do a whole fucking episode on good and bad taglines.
We really could,
too.
because there are so many like cliched, shitty ones,
Yeah.
and then you have ones like this that are just so representative and
Yeah.
like capture the whole movie in one single line. And what's great about this is like you have the creepiness of like the egg opening up and like what the hell's inside, and then you have the tagline which is like ooh, shivers, and you also have like just the
Do it again.
design of it. All the black and then the text for Alien, which is like iconic in its own right as the opening sequence of that movie, and the text kind of unfolds. But yeah, so it's like this is such a simple poster, but the few choices that they made are so incredibly powerful with it.
Yeah, I agree. The next one is also very simple.
Yeah, American Beauty. I was looking at this one. I think, if I'm correct, that is a different person's hand than that person's torso.
Correct.
Okay.
But like this, I remember like being in Blockbuster and like trying not to get caught looking at the cover of this movie. Like,
Which it's not showing anything.
it's not showing anything, but it's so sexual.
Very
in
suggestive.
just the way it is.
Definitely.
And the rose and the skin tone and how they kind of let. This is a point where it's okay to let the text kind of fade away into the background here, right? Like,
Well, I was going to say it's almost a little hard to read Kevin Spacey's name there.
but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I get it. Okay, this is like some kind of creepy, weird love story with a belly
What
button.
does it say under American Beauty? What's the tagline there?
I have no idea.
Oh, it says look closer. As I'm like squinting, like yeah, look closer. Interesting, but yeah, and it's very representative of the movie itself, which is about Leonard's sort of obsession with this young
Right,
girl and everything. Very simple yet powerful image.
The next one, got to give the Pittsburgh Kid the shout out.
Definitely.
And this is at a time where like this movie poster would have like made parents shield their kids' eyes. Like, think about that.
That's interesting. I
like-
mean, it's hard to say because I wasn't alive back then or
This
whatever. But
this movie poster would have creeped people out in the 60s.
oh, I'm sure it
60s?
did.
70s, 60s, late 60s.
I want to say it's late 60s. 66 maybe. 2004 for the remake. If you were curious, the Zack Snyder remake.
78. Ah, all right.
Only off by a decade.
But still, it's a really aggressive poster. It's got great graphic design.
Yeah.
The way the black cuts off the middle, and there might be a bit of sensory overload here,
I don't think so. I mean, I think with the text, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but not with the images.
but I think it is. I think it is really one of the gems and is iconic in
Yeah,
its own right.
and this has that old school Art Deco feel to it, right? Because
Yes.
it's the flat image.
Yes.
That's just 2D design.
This could have been Saw.
I don't know if it was, but it certainly has that
It
feel
feels
to
like it could
Yeah.
have been. Yeah. All right. Next one. Classic.
Enter the Dragon.
This movie, I could just talk about forever.
I've never
but-
seen this movie, so you talk about this.
So
movie.
Enter the Dragon is arguably the best Bruce Lee movie. It's his final movie. And this poster is done as this beautiful, mosaic almost of everything that happens in the movie. So in the movie, he has to fight his way up the tower to save this girl. And some of the guys he has to face are on this poster.
Okay.
So, like, it's, like, just that part of it is really neat. I like how it's, like, a poster inside of a poster, right? Because we have the red border, which has all the chaos in it, and then all this breathing white space, and then Enter the Dragon in this, like, perfect kung fu orange. And
Yeah, that's really interesting. Poster within a poster, but also not because you have some guy rappelling
Right.
down the side of it.
Right, which I think there's so much to this, and it's one of the ones where, like, I can stare at this poster for a long time. This is one you find in a lot of dorm rooms, right? Like, this is such a poster that your eye just kind of wanders forever through this poster. And again, with the pastel colors, it's a painting. Like, it does all the things we talked about being right.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot happening, but
Right.
definitely visually cool.
Enter the Dragon. Next one.
Forrest Gump. This is interesting. Why did you pick this poster?
So it's iconic, first off the bench, right?
Sure.
And I love that it's a scene from the movie. I love posters that are a scene from the movie. Another one's Little Miss Sunshine, where they're running after the van, right? But like this just jumps you right into, you know, so much about this guy just looking at that poster. I love the way the text is treated all down the right-hand side. I love the big open space on the left to let you breathe. I think this is just beautifully designed. I like the red lines that separate, you know, who's in them, or like the dates in, no, it's who's in the movie. Yeah. I think this is really a brilliantly designed poster. And a good use of negative space and white.
That I will agree on. I was actually thinking that if I didn't know what this movie was about, I don't know that I would like this poster. Like in hindsight, I think
Interesting.
you know the movie, so it's kind of
That's
beloved.
a good point.
But if you were going into it, I'm like, it's some guy on a bench.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd probably skip this.
I can't read the text, what it says besides Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump. Like, I know that was a book. I don't know if that was a well-known book. It's certainly compositionally, it's designed very well. Like, if you held up a pen, you know, sort of diagonally through it, the bottom half would be very heavy, hence all the negative space in the top, which would even that out. So definitely design-wise, I like it. But as context, I don't know. I'd have to. It's, you know, obviously I've seen the movie, so it's too late. But
That's a
I'd
great
be like,
point.
what is he looking at?
You know, that's a really good point. Because I've seen all these movies.
Right.
I didn't think about that part of this.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused.
I mean, but now in hindsight, it is such an iconic moment that it all works so
right,
well.
like that's life's like
So-
a box of fucking chocolates.
Yeah.
Like I don't. What else? Like that's it. That's Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Like so. Yeah. I don't know.
Iconic moment. Very interesting poster for sure.
All
What do
right.
we got next? Oh, you gotta go for it. Unleash.
Let's
Unload
talk about.
upon us with your QT
Let's
love.
talk about Quentin Tarantino, another guy who goes all the way deep. Right, his fingers are on this poster.
Yeah, another.
The fact that her fucking feet are showing, right? Like that's one. But this scene never happens in the movie. This is totally different. She's blonde in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
this is like a total
Right?
creation
It is
for the
and
poster.
It's meant to be like a book or a comic book, right? And I love the weird, you know, effect on the edges, and it's so old school with like her feet over top of the words, and like how she kind of interacts with the background of the text, even though she can't, like, in theory that red bar isn't there, right? If you watch Two Beers Deep, I do a lot of this.
Okay.
Like the overlays are like kind of on top of us.
Yeah.
It's it's iconic, and this like it's totally fabricated.
Yeah.
She never shoots anybody in the movie. She doesn't have a gun in the movie. Like
Yeah, I think I love that the most, that this image was completely made for this poster itself.
right.
And it captures so much. I don't know if it captures the mood of the movie, because this is really moody. Like, this makes me think of a straight noir film in terms of, like, you know, all the black and the cigarette and the gun and all the, you know, the very
This
contrasty
poster
lighting.
is more representative of the Bruce Willis part of the movie than it is the Uma Thurman part of the movie.
Interesting. Okay.
Because think about it, they're in the motel,
Right.
not Uma. Uma's in the mansion, getting high, getting fucking the shit stabbed
Dancing
into her.
with John Travolta.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Talking about the burger and like
Yes.
the fucking Force 5 or whatever, and she reads the lines. That's awesome.
And the
Love it.
colors, I mean, they're such vivid colors, right?
Yeah.
But it's all balanced. You know, the Pulp Fiction, the yellow and the red at the top, and then you have the blue and black at the bottom, and then her figure on the right with the text on the left. Like, it's a well balanced, it's well composed. It's just, yeah. And I love, again, I just love that this is a totally fictional creation, strictly for marketing the movie.
And it's Tarantino.
Yes.
It's
Would you say that this is
Tarantino.
his most iconic and Tarantino-esque movie poster? If you think of like Reservoir Dogs or...
No, because I have one later that is.
Oh, okay. Well, cliffhanger.
Although Reservoir Dogs is great because he literally made it the night before the premiere, and it's on corrugated cardboard.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They
I
just
didn't
like
know that.
spray painted it. Yeah,
They
like
spray painted it.
yeah. Pull up the Reservoir Dogs
Okay.
poster for us, Nick.
I didn't know that at all. That's insane.
Yeah, like
I mean,
this-
I believe it, given that
So like, no, it's not that one. There it is.
that one does look like cardboard. I mean,
It
the
is
coloring,
cardboard.
The coloring is cardboard. Yeah.
No, it is cardboard. See how it's a picture of it?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
cardboard.
I mean, you can see the ridges in the
Yeah,
cardboard.
and like it's just spray painted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such. What more is QT? than
Right.
that?
Then just like, I needed a poster. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
But no, he took a piece of cardboard and turned it into an amazing piece of art.
Right.
Which is the genius that he is.
That's true.
Okay, yeah, Pulp Fiction's up there for best of all time for sure.
It's my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. But, all right, next one.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
Brilliant.
kind of throw this one in there.
It is in every Italian guy's dorm room.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if you ever watch Cribs, it's on every episode of Cribs in the
Yep.
background.
Oh my
Like, it's
God,
just-
it is on every episode of Cribs.
But I mean, if you're from a design standpoint, it's almost too simple in the balance,
Well,
in the contrast. Like it's so obvious that
yeah,
it works. You know,
and-
it's like literally split down the middle.
Well, and like, why does the O go into the white? Do you see how like the edge
Yeah.
of that O goes in?
I don't really
like
bu-
there's
yeah.
there's like
he
little
gently
things.
like his whiteness, like his sleeve is kind of in
Yeah.
the black. So, but I like that because it combines both of them, right?
Yeah.
It's not like if you had it separated, it would be too separated. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
But,
I
yeah.
love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you need to know about
Mm-hmm.
this one. It's iconic.
Next one.
Silence of the Lambs, yeah, and I am apologizing to you on air. I know you wanted to talk about this when we did our show for Silence
Mm-hmm.
of the Lambs, and we did not get to it. If anyone's watching, we did a whole show on Silence, which is was
Probably
one of our
still
best.
one of our best,
Yeah, one of
yeah.
our best. And given the time of year, definitely go back and look at that one. But yeah, Josh, go ahead and tell us about this one.
Yeah, so we know that the monarch butterfly is used to kill, but Buffalo Bill uses that to kill his victims. It's like his calling card, right? So we know that Jodie Foster's trying to hunt down Buffalo Bill, and it's like layered, and then you look at that skull and you're like, oh, that's a really cool little skull thing, right? Actually, it's based off of Salvador Dali's painting of a skull where he uses women's naked bodies to create the skull. So, I mean, this just has layers on fucking layers of context to the movie. And if you're looking at this, you're like, oh, this is a weird movie. This is a creepy movie. You're like, I don't think I want to see this. Like, the poster and the movie jacket used to scare me as a kid. And my
Yeah,
dad
it's-
loved this
It's
movie.
uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
Nick, can you see if online if you can like pull up that skull, but like a closer image so
Salvador
we can see
Dali naked lady skull.
Yeah, I mean
would
it's like
bring that
it's
up.
two women crouched together to form the skull, which is insanely cool.
It's more than two.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is more than two.
That's great.
okay, yeah.
Perfect. All right, here we go. Twitch, we're getting banned.
Warning: graphic
Boobies.
content. Yeah, I don't think in this one, but
Yeah, there are.
okay.
Good. Look.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. But anyway, so this is what the poster was based on of how
Right.
they made the image of the skull in the sun. Oh, that's really interesting. That's I guess like
Oh, it's a photo.
it's a photo of
Yeah.
them, putting it together. But yeah, go ahead to that one on the left there, the left of that, yeah, just so they can see. Yeah, so there's the skull composed of what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 different ladies in all shapes
Yeah.
and sizes,
Yeah.
and then that was used on the poster.
Right.
Well, you know what else is interesting about the Silence of the Lambs poster that I just was looking at? Jodie Foster's, assuming that's Jodie Foster.
I
it might not
don't
be.
think it is.
I don't know if it is.
I know it's supposed to
I
be
don't think it is.
representative of
Yeah.
Jodie Foster,
I don't think it is.
but I don't think it is.
I love the red in her eyes.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's something that's on the Hannibal poster. Like, his eyes have that bloodlust, like that red in them. But it just adds sort of like a level of violence or aggression or just,
Oh, violence is
that
a-
bloodiness
yes,
to
yes.
it,
I agree.
which I love so much. Yeah, and the whole thing with the monarch, the butterfly being centered, like, that's where your eye goes. This
Yep.
poster, there's nothing really else, but that in the center is what draws your eye, and it's so sort of disturbing.
Yeah.
But all of it is so good at encapsulating what the movie's about.
Right. All right, let's see the next one. So here we are,
Okay,
Gods of War,
All right.
Gods of Egypt.
the
Take
right
note.
way.
Take note,
Yeah,
because this is it.
yeah.
It's so iconic.
The
It's so
simplest that it
perfect.
gets.
It's everything. It does get a little simpler, but that's it.
Well, talk about why Gods of Egypt does not work, and this one does work.
I think first off, it has a lot to do with the size of the Ghostbuster logo, right? The Gods of Egypt, go ahead, pull it back up, Nick, is so small. Like, if you, like, flicker on and off, yeah. Like, you see what I mean? Like, the ghost is so much bigger. There's not a lot of detail in the ghost. It's very simple. It's very 2D. Like, it's just lines. It's almost a Keith Haring image is how simple it is, right? Also, it's flat black. Gods of Egypt, weird gold tints to it, right? That's dumb. The text. Who are you going to call Ghostbusters? Same font, bold, clear as day. You know exactly what you're looking at. Gods of Egypt, 6 texts. Can't read any of it.
Yeah.
Right?
All different.
It's all contrasty. Go back to the, yeah, thanks. All contrasty, all perfect. It is iconic.
And I think
And then that second one, they just put up the 2. Right.
if it ain't broke.
Right?
But I think another, to add to that, why Ghostbusters and Gods of Egypt are so different. In Ghostbusters, this is an intriguing image, right? It tells you enough about the movie that you're like, huh, that's interesting. So, like,
And they use the Universal logo for don't.
yeah, exactly. And there's a ghost. So it's like, it's about ghosts, but no ghosts, like getting rid of ghosts or something like that. But it's really cool and interesting, and it tells you something that you can take about the movie. Whereas the other one doesn't make any sense. Like, you're like, what am I looking at here? I don't know. But this you know what you're looking at. Like, it's very plain and obvious. Like, you don't know what the movie's about, but you get what they're trying to tell you with this.
All I can hear in my head right now is, ban it, ban it. I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Yeah, I mean, as simple as it gets. As simple and effective as it gets.
So good. Next one.
Okay. Yeah, and this goes back to what you were saying about you like when it's a scene from the movie.
Yep. And it's not the scene. I always forget that.
Right. Not exactly. No.
It's the first time they fly together. It's not them running away.
Right.
It's them the first time they're flying together, and we did an entire episode on why E.T. is the best. And this poster just, like, I'm welling up thinking about it. Like, Elliot and I am here, home. Like, I can't do it. It's
there
so
are
good.
very few images that are more iconic in the history of cinema than the boy on the bike in front of the moon.
It's like that and box of chocolates, but then also this super simple logo. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
Originally designed by Chip Kidd, and Spielberg was smart enough to say, you know what? I think he's onto something.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting? And again, like, if you saw this before the movie came out, what would you think about it, I wonder? It's like Jurassic Park, okay, it's about dinosaurs.
God, I wish like with these last, well, even 4, right? Ghostbusters 2. I can't disassociate them. Cuz I saw the movies before I understood what the logo was.
Right.
Like all of these movies that we're talking about, Ghostbusters, E.T., Jurassic Park, and then the last one, which I've saved for last because it is the best poster ever. I can't remember them without the movie. They're simultaneous. I didn't see one before the other. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't remember seeing that poster in theaters because obviously it was 93. It's just so perfect.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the new one for Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Dominion? They just put out the teaser poster for it.
No.
Can you Google that, Nick? Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Dominion poster. I think you'll like it. It's very simplistic as well. There it is on the left. Yeah.
In the rosin.
Yeah. This just came out on Colin Trevorrow's Instagram.
Oh my God.
So here's the teaser poster for the new Jurassic World, with it being in the amber. So I definitely love that. And again, like you said, it's Steven recognizing what works and, like, just keep it simple. People like this for a reason. Let's just.
God, I want it.
Although interesting choice with that one is they put all of the cast on it.
Yeah, I hate that. Get that shit out of it. It's Jurassic Park. I'm here for the dinosaurs. They don't care about Chris Pratt.
I definitely that's an interesting choice. And the cast in that one's in alphabetical order too, so it's not billed in any specific way.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you gonna like? Yes, Chris Pratt and Bo Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
I never get it right. Technically get the bigger bill, but like, how are you gonna overbill them over Jeff fucking Goldblum?
Yeah, and Sam Neill, who are the originators.
Sam Neill's in this one.
And Laura Dern, they're all back for this one. Yeah. All the whole. Didn't you see those
I'll see you guys later. I gotta go find this movie.
Yeah, they all had like Instagram pictures together.
Steven,
Yeah,
I love you.
they're bringing them all back.
I know Justin doesn't work there anymore, but can we hang out?
I do not work there anymore, but I have the shirt. I have the T-shirt.
And hat.
And the hat. But yeah, so it's always cool to think about like what would I think about this poster if I was just seeing it right
Yeah, I think I would.
I'd be like, okay, dinosaurs, interesting.
It's
It's so powerful in
adult
in
Josh,
what it
kid
is.
Josh. I'm walking right in.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell me anything else. They're dinosaurs. I'm there.
It's like one of those moments where somebody is so confident in something that they just walk in and they say, "Here you go," and then they walk out.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, here's a logo, bye. Everyone's gonna see it.
And like we talked about a lot in E.T. is that like some of the stuff that was done in E.T. he was like, I'm gonna make a note. Jeeps running through woods is cool. And then he's like, oh, here's all of it. Bam! In Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Definitely up there.
Yeah.
In terms of iconic posters.
And then the most iconic poster of all time.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'd say that one for sure is probably number one.
They spent 6 months on this poster.
Every day at my desk, this poster was on the wall next to me at my computer there.
Right there.
there.
Is it hard to appreciate it?
On the contrary, what's cool is from where I was sitting at my desk at Amblin, within my line of sight, there were 8 different movies of Stevens, and they were just all classics. It's like you look and it's like Jaws, Jurassic World, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, like you're Lincoln, like you're just looking, you see all of these, and it's just like, man, like it really like emphasizes this guy and everything that he's done in his career. When you're like, here's a portion of his career, and it's all like the biggest movies of all time. You know, it's just, yeah, unbelievable.
And not that I've saw his desk, but yeah, that sounds like that would be a really inspiring thing to go look at work all day. And instead, you get this cinder block wall now.
Indeed, yeah. Well, for this moment, I have this delightful poster, so it's just as good.
All right,
In this moment, it is just as good.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, how can the terror of this poster to this day still? I mean, I've watched Jaws, and I'm sure everyone out there feels the same. I've watched Jaws countless times over the years. Every single time I watch it, I feel the exact same thing. Like when the body like pops out of the boat underwater, it's like, you know, it scares you. It has not changed at all from the first time.
So good.
And this poster just says so much. And like in another world, if you saw something like this, you'd be like, wow, that looks kind of cheesy. But it's just not, you know, it's not a B movie in that sense. Like if you look at like the Piranha movies or Tremors or stuff like that.
Isn't that crazy though? Because like, so he took it. So the script is based off the book, which isn't. I don't think it's called Jaws, but and it's like a sci-fi like crap B movie.
I've not read the book.
And now it's like, it's Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like Jurassic Park. Like Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park is not great.
Oh, really?
It's a shit book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Brilliant movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's such a skill, Jurassic Park and Jaws. You look at the simplicity of the image and the simplicity of the text. Like there's 3 things going on here. You have big jaws, shark going up towards a girl. Like there's just so much not happening that it's insane how much impact so little can do.
And I think the other interesting piece of this, so like you talked about how Forrest Gump, you're like, would you be interested in this movie if you didn't know that scene? I don't know that I would with E.T.'s poster. Because I know the scene, that's all I think about. If I was seeing that for the first time, I'd be like, what is that weird thing flying by the moon? Like, why does the moon look like that?
Yeah.
That's weird. But like this Jurassic Park, I'm like, yep, I'm walking in. Let's fucking go. Giant shark eats a girl. Let's see it.
And you know what? You know what else is interesting? That's the difference between the two. That the original Jurassic Park and Jaws, these are so successful and iconic, and they're not based around cast at all.
No.
You know, like we talked about the Avengers poster for like trying to do too much sensory overload, putting 20 different A-listers on it, you know, and no one's going to ever remember that poster. But you have this, and it's just the movie, you know?
Target released a series of puzzles of iconic movie posters. So it's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, a poster we're going to talk about a little bit later. But 2 of them are Jaws and E.T., and I bought both of those.
Oh, I love
and,
that.
And Anastasia and I built them during quarantine, and they are, like, there was something just really wholesome and rewarding to me to building these movie posters that were like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are my childhood. These are why I wanted to make movies.
Yeah.
And I'm like putting E.T.'s head together.
Yeah, that's really interesting. There's
Yeah.
something cathartic sounding about that, as
I-
you know, putting together this iconic piece of art yourself.
Well, and then getting to talk to my wife about, you know, why these movies were important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what like Spielberg in particular has meant to me and my career, and how I've always thought, you know, hey man, you can make the artsiest piece of shit you've ever seen, but did it make any money? And how I've always kind of used that as my banner to how I've driven my career is like, am I making money doing this? Because if I'm not, then it's not a career.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now I want to go buy a puzzle and put it together
You can just borrow
while I'm
ours.
high and see what happens.
There you go.
So see
Not
what?
that we get high.
Not in this studio. At least not yet.
Let's take a quick commercial break.
Yes.
And then we're going to come back. Yeah, Nick, you got it. With our favorite posters. So stay right with us, and we'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Let's dive right into sports, as I have strong opinions on that. Which college team could beat a professional team in the same sport right now?
Okay.
There is not a single answer that is better than the LSU Tigers defeating the Cincinnati Bengals.
Even if I know the pitch that's coming, every other part of me is still normal.
That's why it's frustrating for me, Greg.
It's like okay, if I know what something is coming, I know ahead of time. I still have to be able to do the action to get the result that I need.
Okay, so they won 3 games in 10 years with 3 rebuilds.
I don't lose at arguments. All right.
Especially about fast food. So yeah.
You will never walk alone. Guess what? Now you will. Coronavirus.
I barely touch my girlfriend's cat. The most I'd be willing to do is like just kind of put my finger on its forehead and just like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with us is Alex Kazor from Steelers Depot.
We are live with Ryan Smith, professional cornhole player in the ACL. Ryan,
What all franchises were you able to work with in the NHL?
With Phoenix, Carolina, and Detroit.
So here is Moorhead's ranking. Moorhead is my cousin. He is the rank king.
Higher
Top 10 extra Power Rangers.
This is the top 10 emo songs of the 2000s.
There's only one correct answer for number 1. Why is F is for Family better than Futurama when Futurama is like Star Wars for potheads? Like
I know. I think
We have one or two that are mad in the chat.
You're welcome for that.
okay, we're gonna get banned.
Welcome back to Thoughts from the Poster.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Yeah,
Lots
there
of the
you go.
posters this week.
We're talking about our favorite posters now, and we're going to start with Justin's. So take it away, Jay Loot.
Okay. Well, I mean, Chinatown, right? One of my favorite movies of all time. Super iconic. Roman Polanski and Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. I mean, great movie, but the poster itself is so cool in capturing the movie. I mean, not only you look at the text, which is really interesting. You have the image of her in the smoke, which is interesting. There's almost like, to me, there's something Gatsby-esque about this
I would
poster.
assume this movie was made in the 30s.
Because,
Looking at the
yeah, I
poster.
mean, the way he looks and the, like, it's obviously a noir, but, you know, the iconic image of the Great Gatsby book where the eyes are there and it's sort of like the face in the background.
Oh, yeah.
There's something that reminds me like that to this. So, yeah, and again, simplicity, right? But You have the way it's drawn. It's like a sketch almost, which adds an interesting layer to it. And then just, guy in a fedora smoking a cigarette conjures up so many images from
Don Draper thinks this is awesome.
from film history. Yeah, and like you said, it definitely feels like more classic. This was made in the 70s, like 74, 5, 6, something like that, mid-70s. But, it has the feel of a much older poster and a much older film. So, yeah, this one is just, I love the design of it, both the colors and the composition and the text and the imagery. So, yeah, Chinatown is... and I love that Chinatown's in quotes because it's the iconic line of the movie, the final line of the movie, and he says, "Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown." Have you seen Chinatown?
No.
Oh my goodness. I'm so distracted now. But anyway, it's so like when you watch the ending of the movie, it's such an iconic line for an iconic moment, and I love that it's in quotes here because it's also the title and part of the quote. So an interesting layer to the design of it.
Oh, don't you know?
Fargo, yeah. Fargo. This isn't. I'm not gonna say it's not one of my favorites, but in terms of design, I love it
It's
because
beautiful.
it's so unique, right? It's like the cross stitching.
Yep.
Even though it's an actual, a glossy piece of plastic or whatever movie posters are made of. And it's so unique, not only for the design of the cross stitching element of it, right? But then you have the dynamic of being a homespun murder story, right? So it's a murder movie, but it's also got like a little homey feel to it. It's like here's a guy in the snow bleeding out, but it's kind of done with like a cute little cross stitch, like
spun and in string, and you know what I mean? Like it's all very punny.
Yeah, I mean it's just like a very ironic sort of like this is a very dark and grisly movie, but there's kind of a fun spin on it, and it's like
because it's in North Dakota where they talk all goofy.
Yeah, like you have Marge and she's kind of funny and everything, and then there's guys going through wood chippers, like it's bloody and gory and violent, and there's these moments of like warm homey humor in them. So
isn't like her first line in the movie, she walks up to the guy and she goes, "Oh, he's having a bad day, lost his head."
Yeah, pregnant policewoman.
Yeah,
it's just there's just such an interesting dynamic at play, and even if this wasn't the cross stitch, if this was just an actual like image of the movie, I think it would still be interesting, but obviously not nearly as much.
Great use of negative space too, obviously being snow, right? Mm-hmm. You see the car flipped over, you can tell it's like buried in snow.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't think of another movie poster that was designed this way, like with this specific look. I think Fargo is truly one of a kind, which adds to the coolness of it.
Next one.
Oh, are we doing all my movies first?
Yep.
Okay. I think that Her is really interesting, this poster, and I'll tell you why. Not only is this an absolutely beautiful movie that I love dearly, this image, I remember seeing it, and I was so curious about it, because not only is, it's just Joaquin Phoenix staring at you, which is fine, sort of with a lost or earnest look in his eyes, but I was always, and I still am fascinated to this day by the redness of his shirt versus the pinkness of the background. Like it's just a little bit off, it's like not quite the same color. And if you watch the movie, it has a very warm look to it. There's a lot of oranges and reds. Like it's a movie about falling in love, and it takes place in the near future, like in a potential near future. So it's kind of got this like romanticized, fantastical look to it. That helps you fall in love with these characters as they're falling in love with each other. Like a lot of pinks and a lot of reds, but just so interesting to have such slight differences here. I mean, it almost feels like an error, but it's obviously not. Like if you were wearing an outfit with this crimson blood red and then this like almost fuchsia-esque pink, it wouldn't match. But I don't know. What do you think when you see this poster? Because to me, I'm always just like...
I don't even look at the colors.
Really?
I have wanted to watch this movie for so long.
Oh.
And every time I go to click on it, this image stares me in the face, and I'm like, I'm not ready to be this sad today.
Yeah.
Look how, like, distraught he is. How broken he is. His shirt's, like, wrinkled. His hair's messed up. And he's just looking at you with those piercing blue eyes of just, like... You feel so much pity for him.
Yeah.
Just looking at this. Like, I can't get past his eyes. and I just like I want to give him a hug. Like I feel bad, and I know that this movie's gonna bum me the fuck out, and I don't want to watch it because of that.
It's really not like a devastating, tragic movie or anything, but there is definitely like a sadness and like a loneliness in his eyes to it. But again, this is it's a love story. It's a movie about falling in love, and then with unique circumstances as he falls in love with his operating
Computer.
system. It's so interesting. This movie, side tangent, this movie was ahead of its time. And even though it was very well received, it did well at the box office, and it was successful at the Oscars. It was so interesting looking back on it now in 2020 because it came out, I think, in 2013 when Siri and Alexa and all that shit was like barely becoming a thing. And to watch this movie now, like it's almost like watching it when it came out, it was like, okay, this is the near future, and this is kind of like weird to think about a guy falling in love with his operating system. But now it's like it's almost real and possible. Like the things your devices can do and say, and personalities they can almost have. Like, I feel like if I watched it today for the first time, I'd be like, this is not too crazy anymore. Like when it came out, it was in the future, and now it's like this could be a real story. But
well, and look at that cast for 2013. Like Joaquin Phoenix is on the map because of Walk the Line, right? But then Amy Adams is kind of becoming somebody. Olivia Wilde and ScarJo are not huge yet.
Yeah, well, Olivia Wilde's barely in it, but Scarlett Johansson, when this came out, there were at all the major film festivals. This movie played, Venice and Cannes and all that stuff, and there was so much talk about giving her Best Actress, even though it was just a voice performance. And a lot of people think the only reason she didn't was because that's like unprecedented, to give a performance award for someone who's not performing like physically. But
if Anthony Hopkins can win Best Actor for being in a movie for 13 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
ScarJo can win Best Actress for a voice.
Yeah.
And her voice in particular.
And she also was not the original choice. They had done this with Samantha Morrison. I forget what her name is. Anyway, Scarlett Johansson was not the original choice. They did this whole movie with another actress, and then it wasn't clicking, so they brought her in to redub the lines. But so you don't look at those colors at all, though, because truly that to me is just what's so interesting about this poster.
Nope, I'm just looking at him.
Okay, interesting then. My mom's favorite movie of all time. My sister loves this movie, and I'll be honest, I love this movie. It should have won Best Picture at the Oscars that year. I would have voted for it every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Moonlight. No disrespect to Moonlight. La La Land, because I remember when this poster came out, and it just felt like you were about to see something that was reminiscent of old
Gene Kelly's
Hollywood.
dance in there.
Yes, I mean, obviously La La Land, the title, refers to Hollywood and it has sort of a dreamy feel to it. But to be out under the stars with the city in the background and to be, in your fancy clothes dancing, I mean, it's just, there's so much romance in this poster, and not necessarily between them, but just in like the romance of old Hollywood and those types of movies, like you just mentioned.
Dick
Gene
Van
Kelly
Dyke and Judy Garland are dancing.
Fred Astaire. I mean, all these different. It's such a great callback, and then
it's warm.
To be out under the stars, and the City of Stars is a big song in the movie. It's just so romantic, and I love that about it, and it's such a beautiful image. And have you seen this movie?
No.
Okay. There's a scene where they do this dance up by the Griffith Observatory, and the sky is pretty much, this color, and it's just so beautiful. All naturally shot, natural lighting too. Beautiful moment in the film. So I can't recommend it enough. And it's great because the movie was that classical Hollywood type of feel. Like it had all these fantastic dance numbers, and the soundtrack is incredible, and all the look of it, and it's just so lavish. It's got so much razzle dazzle to it. So I love this poster very much.
This is so cool.
Lord of War, 2005, I believe, with Nicolas Cage, when he was like, he had done National Treasure, but was kind of on the downfall. Not nearly as like crazy as what's going on now, but this is just a great poster because of how it's made, right? Every piece of Nicolas Cage he plays an arms dealer, and his image is composed of ammunition and bullets of various sizes and different pieces of instruments of war. So, it's really cool in that they took something that would have been a terrible idea, like just literally this picture of Nicolas Cage, and then made it completely unique and dynamic and interesting to look at by the way they composed it, which also, is such a great representation of the movie, of this guy who's a massive arms dealer being made of ammunition almost. So I don't care what any of the text says about it. I just think
that's what I want to talk about that, because I think that's a great way to handle the text, is to make it a frame. You don't even really need to make Nicolas's Cage or the tagline big in there. Like, I get it. I know everything I need to know walking into this movie, right? I can get drawn in by the image of the bullets and Lord of War. Like, that's all you need. I like how it's gray, how, like, if you really want to read it, you have to go read it. Like, I'm all about this poster. This is so well designed. It is fucking brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, they did exactly all they needed to do. It's called Lord of War. Here's the guy. He's made of bullets. He's the Lord of War. That's it.
You get it.
Yeah.
You get it.
Awesome. Yeah, and the movie itself, was not that good.
Well,
ironically enough,
the
poster far outshines the movie. Yeah, the rare instance. So we mentioned Magic in the Moonlight earlier as being just a terrible poster in terms of the Photoshop was just the worst that I've ever seen. On the reverse side of that, we have Manhattan, which is one of the most iconic of all time. And it's been a while since I've watched them, but I will say I think I like Manhattan better than I like Annie Hall, even though both came out around the same time, and they were sort of, his first two together, as a lot of great directors have that 1-2 punch in terms of romantic comedies set in New York and in the black and white imagery of it. The two of them sitting on the bench looking at the bridge is so iconic, and that's really all you need. It's a very simple image. It's two people on a bench in black and white, and
it's like misting rain. You have a warm coffee. You're wearing your favorite like mid-weight coat that kind of keeps the rain off, but if you're out too long, it's gonna soak through.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
That's how I feel. I'm on Fifth Avenue, kind of like just strolling around looking up.
I love that. And then obviously the title Manhattan, made out of the skyscrapers of the city of New York.
I stop and I get a bagel with schmear.
Schmear it. Absolutely. Go to your favorite pizza restaurant, Sbarro's.
I was being romantic with New York, and you fucked it up.
By throwing in an Office reference?
Yeah.
This is my favorite pizza place in all of New York.
I'm going to go get me a New York slice.
Yeah, but no, this is, it's just such an iconic.
Michael Scott probably loves this movie.
I bet he would make it 2 minutes into this movie.
Really?
He wouldn't understand it.
But he thinks Woody Allen's really cool.
Yeah, so romance in a nutshell.
Yeah.
For Manhattan.
Next one.
Memoirs of a Geisha. This is my favorite movie poster of all time.
It's as haunting as her is. This is like, it draws you in.
Yes, and I'm guessing you haven't seen this one.
I've seen it a long time ago.
Okay.
So like I would need to rewatch it to even think about it. But yeah.
This is also one of my favorite films of all time. The production value of it is incredible in terms of the costumes and the music and the colors. It has a very timeless feel to it. I mean, you wouldn't even know this movie was set in the 1940s until the last 10 minutes of the movie when like tanks and stuff show up. But it's just the rest of the movie, you just get drawn into this mystical world that you just could be existing in any time period ever. But why I love this poster so much is because what you were saying about her, this movie is about a young girl who gets taken from her village and is forced essentially into slavery and forced into growing up as a geisha. And she's just never able to find happiness because of this world that she is stuck in. And the guy that she loves is just someone who's out of reach. So it's a very beautiful story, but there's also a sort of very sad and haunting quality to it, as geishas are supposed to have a very mystical and very unknown type of feel to them. They're this very sort of unknowable thing. At least that's the way they were presented.
Like I remember all the way to the part where like she becomes a geisha, and then I can't remember any of the movie after that.
Okay, yeah, that's like the middle of the movie. But it's just there's two things I really love. A, the color of her skin and lips and eyes, and her blue eyes are a big motif in the movie.
Right.
the main character, Sayuri.
She's the only one with blue eyes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and all the four main geishas in the movie have personalities that reflect the elements of the earth. So one's very fiery, one's very wooden and stoic, one's light and breezy, and then hers is very fluid and watery. And her blue eyes are something that people mention throughout the movie. So the electric blue of the poster is just very beautiful to me. It just draws you into her. Like, there's such a sadness in her eyes. Like, she's got this presentation is so beautifully done, but it's in such a haunting way, as like there's just something so deep and sad there. And then what I really love, detail I really love, is the hair sort of blowing to the side, because to me it sort of represents the passage of time. Like, wind through the hair, for whatever reason, just makes me think of like swirling wind and memories and these types of things. So when I look at this poster, I look into someone's very, very haunted eyes, and I just think of all the time that has passed and this life that she's been forced to live, and how unfortunate it's been, even though it's also been sort of beautiful at the same time. Like, it's just I think it's very haunting in a way. I can't think of a better word to describe it than that, but I just get pulled into her eyes and just thinking about, the story of the movie, the time passing, and all the tragedy that befalls her, and how she just wants to be free and to be happy, and so many different things keep happening. So one of my favorite movies of all time, and hands down my favorite. I stare at this poster every now and then, just for minutes at a time, because it's so beautiful to me, and it just makes me, it's one of those ones that in your gut makes you feel like a wrenching feeling, which maybe her does for you, but when I look at it, like when I'm staring at this by myself at a computer, I just feel like this knot, like this.
That's how I feel when I look at her.
Yeah, like this
my
soulful,
stomach turns.
painful.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite of all time.
Next one.
Fritz Lang's Metropolis, and I have not seen this movie, but I throw this on here because it's really coolly designed. I mean, this movie came out in the 27.
This looks like that Batman movie Austin made us watch.
Oh, the Mask of the Phantasm. Well, that's what's interesting about this movie is it's came out 100 years ago, and it's supposed to be set in the future with flying cars and all these things. And Metropolis obviously is the city, but then there's this giant robot as part of the movie. So it's interesting because the design of this movie, not only the colors, the black and gold, but like the contrast in them. And then you also have the interesting font of Metropolis, which that reminds me of like Metallica or like something from the 80s.
Yeah, it
like
doesn't mesh with the rest of it.
There's a very futuristic font to it, which is the movie's about the future, so it fits very well, even though this poster was made 100 years ago. So there's an interesting dynamic between.
Wait, this movie actually came out 100 years ago?
Almost. It was in the 20s, I believe. Wow. I want to say late 20s, 1920s. But yeah, so it's just there's an interesting dynamic between being so old but being about the future and being so new.
Text looks like it should say Rancid or something. It'd be on the back of a denim jacket.
Yeah, and so I just love the colors, and I love the it's very representative of what the movie's about, even though it's very simple. But yeah, it's just when I was walking down the halls in the Cinemark in Robinson, they had this poster up, and I would always just stop and stare, and like it was so interesting to me to be so old, but to have such a dynamic visual look to it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Next one.
Midnight in Paris. Yes, this is on my list to buy for sure, and
not a great movie.
I like this movie a lot. You don't like the movie?
It's okay.
Okay. So
it's too Woody Allen for me.
This
you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I get it.
It's like too Woody Allen.
This is one of my favorite, one of my more favorite Woody Allen movies, I will say. And it's Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams play a couple that go to Paris in present day, and he's a struggling writer. And then every night at midnight, he sort of, as he's walking around Paris, it becomes Paris from the 1930s and 40s, from the Belle Epoque, which was like a very beautiful, artistic, culturally exciting time. And you had writers like Hemingway and all these different, well-known
I
artsy
like that
people.
part of the movie. I didn't like the ending.
So yeah, I get you. I know what you're saying on that. But so he gets transported back to Paris at every night. And if this poster did not have Van Gogh's Starry Night on it, I probably wouldn't care about it at all. I love the way that it blends present with the past, and it has this sort of dreamy state to it by blending real life with art.
I wish it was at night. I think it would be better if the poster was at night.
Well, Starry Night is at night. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that's
the pictures during the day.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. But yeah, so just the way it blends so seamlessly is beautifully done. It's a beautiful work of art. Just the transition, how it's so smooth, I think. But yeah, it's another one where like if you just divide it down the middle or diagonally, you're like this one half is so different than this other part, and it's
And blue and yellow again.
Yeah, blue and yellow. Yep. So yeah, just a very breezy, whimsical, romantic feel to it, just like the movie.
I dig it. This poster, I've never seen this fucking movie, but when I pulled this poster up, I was like, I saw it from afar, and I was like, this is kind of weird and cool. And then I looked up it close, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And honest to God, I have not seen The Handmaiden. It's been on my list for fucking ever. It came out in 2016, and I've wanted to see it every day since then. It's like an erotic thriller. It's like about a dynamic between a guy and his wife and his mistress, I believe. But it's like it was insanely well reviewed and beautifully shot. Production value again through the roof. But it's also got like a dark side. Like if you'll notice, some of the people in these pictures are actually hanging from these trees.
It's
like
a
you don't
suicide
don't see it at first, but like yeah, it's like it plays into the darkness and the mystery and like the underworldy side of this movie where it's not just like a guy and his mistress having fun or whatever. Like there's a darkness to the movie, and it's just it's a Korean film, and the design of it with the trees and the not papyrus, but like the texture of the background are all really interesting. So
and I love, like we talked about in the Pulp Fiction one, how the letters go in and out between the trees.
Yeah, interactive, and there's a flow to this poster, right?
Yes.
Like it's almost like an S. Like your eye goes from one thing to the other. Like not only the shape of the trees, how they're placed, but then the bodies.
By a Japanese artist. Has to be.
I mean, it's so authentic looking and so
It feels like one of their giant tapestries.
like so much thought went into it.
Or like a robe or
Yeah. And again, I mean, I'm gonna watch this at some point, but I do love and there's a poster with like the actual characters that's more generic, but this is
awesome.
Yeah, love this one. Park Chan-wook.
Last one.
And then The Exorcist. How do you not put this poster there, right? I mean, I've never seen this movie.
Great movie.
And it's billed as the scariest movie of all time.
It is the scariest movie.
I mean, this image alone is like terrifying.
Yes.
It scares me enough that I don't even want to watch the movie.
Font is it's so good. I love this movie.
It says everything it needs to say.
Right.
So those are some of mine. Josh, hit us with some of yours.
All right. So the first one is a documentary.
I've never seen this poster for Blackfish.
This is the poster I saw that made me watch it. This is haunting.
There's another one where it's like a profile view,
and that sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know who did that one. That's the poster.
Yeah, this one
is terrifying.
This is scary for sure.
It looks like a Rorschach test, but it's a killer whale. You see that the dorsal fin is bent. You're like, what? Dorsal fins aren't bent on whales. Like it, and he's blurry.
Free Willy's
too.
was bent.
You're trying to always like make it out to make it look like, to come sharp, and you can't. But then the text is so clear, and then it does the cool gradient look. And then you see Sundance super big on there, which always is gonna draw me into anything. But
well, it also makes it feel, and as I'm sure this was how it was shot, it feels like you're underwater. Like the lighting on top of the whale has that glimmery like texture of this light coming through water. So not only is the image of the whale kind of scary enough, but it's like you feel like you're in a deep abyss and this thing is coming at you.
This movie does not make you feel good ever at any point. You just feel like shit when
you
this
love
thing's
this movie.
done. I do love this movie. It's so good.
I have not seen it.
You hate documentaries, but this is like top 10 documentaries of all time kind of shit.
I believe it.
It's really good. Next one. My favorite. Cool Hand Luke.
I don't remember seeing this one either for Cool Hand Luke. Usually it's the image of like him kind of like lounging on the side.
Yeah. So this is a really nice one. And I love that they're like, you see them chasing him with the dog on top. You see him in the kickback Cool Hand Luke classic, arms up.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna eat your cornbread position. And then obviously Paul Newman just looking like the fucking man. And that cool like 70s vibe to it. It's fucking great poster. Next one. I think that scary movie posters have to be better than regular movie posters.
Why do you think that?
Because you have to get drawn into a scary movie. You're either going to go see a scary movie because you want to see a scary movie, or you're just not going to see it because it's a scary movie. But if the poster is as good as this Halloween poster, you're like, all right, fuck it, you got me. Or The Exorcist. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they take so much more care in scary movie posters still to this day than any other genre of movie.
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. But I could see your point.
Because they have to. Their trailers have to be better. Their marketing has to be better. Everything has to be better because they need to get you in there so that they can eclipse their tiny budget and make it super successful. And none did it better than Michael Myers and Halloween.
To me, of all the Halloween villains, you know, the Jason Voorhees and the Freddy Kruegers and everything, Michael Myers will always be the most terrifying to me.
Yes.
By his nature, the way he is the scariest version to me.
I agree.
I love the image on this. I don't love the tagline, "The night he came home." Like, that's kind of cheesy to me, but I will always love the image because I know what it represents.
Right. Next one. Okay. So this poster is really important because this is 1996, and this was the second movie I ever saw in theaters.
Wow, what was the first?
Lion King. And
do you remember that?
No.
Okay.
I just know.
You'd have been like 3 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember because I cried in The Lion King, they had to take me out, so they waited till I was 6. And I remember like this poster, and I remember like being very little, holding my dad's hand, and in Regal, they had all the posters on the left-hand side, right? And we'd get our tickets, and Mom or Dad would go get the popcorn, and they would take me over, and I would look at the posters in those big neon frames, and just like, and I just remember looking at this poster and thinking like, whoa. Like, it was one of my earliest thoughts is about this poster and how like massive that ship is.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's so dominant.
And then the movie's arguably the greatest fucking movie ever.
It's up there.
It's not the greatest movie ever, but it is.
Yeah, it's a classic for sure in its own
is
right.
Unbeatable as far as like action thrillers go. It's like Independence Day and Die Hard. Take your pick. So yeah, this one's really important to me because it was actively one of the first movie posters I remember seeing and being like, wow. But go ahead and go to the next one. La Strada! Federico Fellini. So this is really, it's an Italian film, and Federico Fellini is like I almost said the Spielberg of Italy, but that's not true. He's more like the Woody Allen of Italy, but like at a Spielberg level, okay?
Interesting.
And this is a really classic tale where this girl down here in the right-hand corner gets bought by the circus, this really strong guy, and he like makes her his wife. It's really creepy and weird, and they like go around in this traveling circus. But this poster is just classic, right? It's this beautiful painting, and it's awesome. Federico Fellini's La Strada, great film.
Yeah, a lot of Italian films specifically have the same sort of look. And a lot of earlier films from like, you know, the 30s and 40s have this type of feel to it, but I definitely think of like La Dolce Vita and some other similar ones when I see this look. I do think Italian.
Next one. This is my favorite Quentin Tarantino, even though it's a Robert Rodriguez film. They made them together, Planet Terror and Death Proof. This poster's fucking awesome. This poster's hot.
Is this your fantasy?
My brother, very famously, I gave him a couple of posters before I went to college, and one of them was both it was the Planet Terror poster and the Death Proof poster, and he has them next to each other in his room.
Okay.
And every time I go in, I just stare at this poster because it's so fucking cool. It's a B-movie poster. It's meant to be a B-movie poster. You know, Rosario Dawson looks hot as hell in it. I mean, it's just, she's got a fucking machine gun for a leg. It's everything you need to know about this movie.
I guess. Yeah,
Cherry
I don't
Baby.
know. Okay.
You've not seen this movie.
No.
You're a dick.
She's got a gun for a leg.
Next. Get
How
out
does
of
she
here.
fire the gun?
Shut up.
How does the gun fire?
You've seen this. What the fuck is going on? Nobody's seen Planet Terror and
Does she shoot the gun?
yeah.
How?
On a motorcycle.
No, I don't. I mean, like, how does like she fire it if the gun's her leg?
I don't know. She's like riding on the motorcycle. Cut to the wide shot on the left-hand side.
She has a gun for a leg.
So like,
how does she pull the
she's
trigger?
riding the motorcycle and she's got her leg out. And she's like,
I don't understand the physics of
Planet
how it
Terror
happens.
is so good.
Who's pulling the trigger?
She is. I don't know.
Is she pulling like the trigger herself,
Her
like on
stripper
her
name
leg?
is Cherry Baby, and she's Zara Dawson, and it's great.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
I don't get it.
This movie, iconic fucking poster.
What? I definitely don't know that iconic is the right word.
Nick, I agree. Thank you. This is the new in every dorm room. This is like, this movie is so fucking good, and this poses everything in the shitty matching Argyle sweaters.
Yeah.
It's like it's so fucking good, and very rarely do comedy movies, I think, have good posters. So this one, I think, is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like how it's the shitty picture days thing, but they're like
Family picture.
grown ass men.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good, and it just makes me smile
Yeah.
thinking about how good that movie is.
And the fact that I remember seeing this poster when it came out, and it's definitely a step above the other comedy posters.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they look alike, and you're like, okay, these guys are stepbrothers. Like I get it.
Right.
I know that cheesy family portrait because I have
Right.
20 of them from
Right.
Walmart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, next one. Iconic. Ooh. Nick said ooh. Because there's no better movie than The Breakfast Club when you're talking about teenage drama. John Hughes invented the genre. It has not been topped by Breakfast Club, even with Mean Girls, even with Superbad. Like, this is the gold standard for teenage drama films. This is it. And this poster is so perfect because every single character is perfectly fucking represented on this poster. Molly Ringwald being a babe, but also being, like, tortured. The brain just kind of curled up, like, not really sure why he's around these guys. You have Emilio Estevez pissed off that he's there. Ali Sheedy, who's actually the hot chick in the movie. Spoiler alert. Just being very recoiled and like a recluse. And then obviously the man, John Bender, who's too cool for all of them.
Yeah, I love that description of it because not only are they dressed the part, but they are really embodying their parts in their looks and in their poses, right? Which I don't think I'd ever really thought about. Like that's really interesting, and it's the rest of it's completely white. Like it's just these characters.
So this is an actual picture too. They're posed in this. They're all there together.
Mm-hmm.
They on the last day of filming, they did all of the promotional photos for the film, and there's another really great one where they're all sitting against lockers.
Mm-hmm.
That is used. You'll see it in horizontal fashion. But this to me is just, I love John Hughes. I love the Brat Pack movies. It is one of my favorite genres. I think it's underrated as far as movie genres go, and I think that this is the peak of all of those things coming together.
Yeah. And it's just so representative not only of being a teenager and being in high school, but it's one of those movies that defines an era. And like when you think of The Breakfast Club, you think of like that's one of the defining pieces of culture from the 1980s, right?
Yep.
And I'm curious if Superbad's going to turn out to be that way because I think that
it already is. That
Yeah.
and Mean Girls, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean of like the early 2000s, like that is a perfect snapshot
Mean Girls,
of that
Juno,
life.
and
I don't think Juno's on the level.
yeah,
of
it is for me.
Okay.
It is for me.
I could see that. I mean, it's definitely of like teenage pregnancies and stuff, but I don't know if I'd say Juno like captures the.
I just think of them all coming out together.
Mm.
So I think it just like it would kind of be how like 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, and then St. Elmo's Fire is like
Right.
tucked in there.
Yeah, I get that. It's like all together, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just there's none that have topped it, and none ever will. I don't think.
No. But next one. This has to be in there. This is where it started, baby.
Or what started?
This poster hung in our TV room in high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fuck you. Shout out to Mr. Robbins, The Warriors. Great movie, and was I think my first like foray into understanding movies on a deeper level and really starting to pick things apart. He taught both of us that.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved this movie, and this poster he brought in from his house to hang in that room. So that needs to be in there.
I never did see The Warriors, so I can't speak to how representative this is of the movie or the tone.
It's spot on.
It's about like street gangs.
Yep. Yeah, basically one street gang. Everybody wants out, and there's a giant war, and they're trying to catch the last train out of town before sunrise. It's a great movie.
Does everybody die? Don't tell me. I'll watch it.
It's a good movie. Next one. Okay.
The final one.
The final one. This movie poster is huge to me because I was going to go see a movie or come visit you or something of the sort at the Regal in Butler. And I walked in, and larger than life was this poster staring me in the face. My hero, my childhood hero, Optimus Prime, was coming to the big screen. He was coming to life. And I immediately ran out of the theater, and I called a really good friend of ours, Josh Yoshi, and I said, "You're never going to believe it. Optimus Prime is alive."
And you had not been aware that there was a Transformers movie coming out?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
And there he was.
Were you, I mean, aside from the coolness factor of, like, I can't believe this is happening, when you saw, like, when you looked closely at this Optimus, did you like the design? Were you satisfied with it?
It looked like Optimus.
Okay.
He's got the face shield, the blue helmet, the red body. I mean, that's Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And it was big. Do you remember them? They weren't posters.
Was it a poster or was it like a cardboard cutout?
They were the banners.
Oh, okay.
And they hung across the front registers.
Sure, yeah.
And I just remember walking in and looking up, and he was, I mean, it obviously wasn't 12 feet tall, but that's how it felt to me. When I saw it, I was like, it's him. There he is.
Yeah. And again, that circles back to what we kind of talked about at the movie, or at the beginning, is that these are the first images that you see of new movies coming out, and especially in terms of adaptations from books or cartoons or whatever, it brings things to life for the first time, and it just makes them real in a way that they only existed in your imagination or in a comic book strip or things like that. So that is the amazing power of movie posters. They can be really shitty, but other times they can change your life and be something that you years and years and years later can still look at and be like, I can't even believe that this is still like.
I still can't.
Yeah.
I'm
the little kid. Yeah.
It was real.
The grin on your face, like the kid just comes out and like, man, this was just the best.
I wish I was old enough to remember the Ninja Turtles coming out too.
Oh, okay.
Because when I saw that Michael Bay was doing the Ninja Turtles, like I was like kind of upset, but I was all like, in the back of my head, I was like, remember what he did with the first Transformers.
Right.
Trust him. And I think he delivered on both his Ninja Turtle movies. I don't
think I saw those ones, but Transformers, cool as hell to this day.
So good, great. So, all right.
Well, that was a lot.
we talked about movie posters for 2 hours.
How many stills did we have? 50-something stills.
Yeah.
Of all
I
different,
don't care.
all different shapes and sizes.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a great diversity. So many cool facets in terms of color and contrast and composition. And, typography and bad Photoshop, good Photoshop, things that work, things that don't work. So just so many interesting things about it. And hopefully you guys took something kind of cool away from all this. So next time you're in a theater, you'll be able to say, I really like this poster for this reason. Or I really don't like what they were doing there, Right. So just food for thought. And this was great. I really like this one.
And at the end of the day, if you want me to see your movie, put Optimus Prime or a dinosaur on it.
Boom.
That's what we learned today.
Win for everybody. It's one or the other. That's all you need. Or both. You can put both.
You could put the transforming dinosaur on the poster. I'd probably
There's
go
the next
see that.
mashup.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Thoughts from the movies from the Union Fitness Studios. We will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. with 2 beers deep. We have a lot of shit to talk about. Matt Murray got traded.
Woo! Yay!
Maybe the Steelers get to play this week. Yay! The rest of the NFL, probably not. It's fine. We'll deal with it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.